to the AI Live interview series. I'm your host, E. Vincent Martinez. Our guest today exudes style and sophistication. His interior spaces are as chic as his personal fashion sense. He's been featured in the pages of Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, and Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles, and he's a regular on HGTV and Bravo. His collaborations have turned his creative vision into a sought-after brand. Here to discuss his boutique design firm, Smith Boyd Interiors, and to chat about career, success, and life in the spotlight is founder and creative director of Smith Boyd Interiors, Michel Smith Boyd. Welcome to
Hey,
AI Live,
Vincent.
Michel.
Thank you for having me. I'm
How are
excited to
you?
be here. I'm amazing. This is
Well, I'm
important.
excited.
It's the Art Institute. I had to do this. I'm excited about it.
Well, I'm very excited too because I know your work, I know your style, and I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous. I fluffed up the pillows on the sofa a little bit more. I did an extra mile on the
Don't
treadmill.
even.
I've got some Gucci on for you because I'm like, I've got to impress Michelle. Okay, so I hope you're impressed. You better say yes.
Okay, so check this out. I put on pants for you. Typically, I do these interviews in no pants. I was in gym shorts
Well, that's
till
a
about
different
10
show.
minutes ago. But I am actually in a tuxedo slack just for you. How about that?
Oh my
Just for
God, you
you.
see? Great minds. I love it. I love it. There you go. It's an Art Institute bromance.
Absolutely.
So,
And it has been for years.
well, this is a great segue to discuss the Art Institutes because I'm so proud to announce to our viewers that you are an alum. You are a graduate of the Art Institute of Atlanta.
I am, and I do take a lot of pride in that, honestly. I'm not from Georgia or Atlanta originally, but I take so much pride in having been here for such a long time, being educated here, and how being in this city has manifested an amazing career beyond my wildest dreams.
So here's what I want to know, which I think would be such great information and really a great benefit to our current students. What do you do, or what did you do when you graduated? So you have this great degree in interior design. Like, what was your first job? Like, where the path you took from then to now? Because that's, I think, what students really want to know that would help them. How do you become you, this successful?
Oh gosh. Okay, that's a lot of pressure, but I'm going to attempt to answer.
Yes,
I'm going
I
to attempt
know.
to answer as honestly, as humbly, and as transparent as possible. I just didn't wait. I didn't wait until I graduated to start figuring it out. I knew when I went to design school that eventually I wanted to give something back to interior design, that I wanted to become this. At the time, this term brand was so cliche, you know what I mean? But the idea of finding interior design, a merger of the thing that I loved when I was a kid, architecture, and what I was in love with at the time, fashion, it's a perfect merger between the two worlds. And I get to live in both and play with textiles all day and erect buildings. But I was looking around my Art Institute class thinking all these kids are graduating at the same time as me. We're going to be fighting for jobs. So somewhere in junior year, I began to develop a plan and started networking and creating clients and taking small jobs just so that when I did graduate, I could hit the ground running. I started building relationships, which is the most important thing in business, early on.
So let me ask you something else too then, because you said a few key things that I'm going to really touch on. And for you, I find such a correlation between design and fashion. And I mean, you're extremely fashionable, and that's not just a compliment. I mean, anyone who knows you or has seen you in your pictures, I mean, are you a fashion designer or you're an interior designer? I think they really go hand in hand. I mean, really? So
Right.
how does that translate into your work? How do you use fashion, or what's that relationship between your style, your personal style, and your personal aesthetic?
One of those pictures I hadn't seen in years. Oh my God. Um, the deal is that we all know that fashion informs interiors, right? If it's on the runway in 2020, it'll probably be that palette will trickle
Yeah.
down into interiors for 2021, 2022. And because I'm so obsessed with fashion and looking for those indicators that, it kind of lands in my interiors a little bit early. So my clients are always a bit ahead of the curve. And I think it's the same, Vincent. Honestly, I truly think it's the same, and it's all encompassing. You can't be a fashionable doll and live in a hut. You know what I mean? It's lifestyle, and
Yeah.
even even my YouTube series and in the way I post is just really exploring how to luxury and what it actually means. Not this box and that box, but how luxury works and it being so subjective. And, eventually I'll touch on how it appeals to each one of us.
So how do you define your aesthetic, your design aesthetic?
I think that's the toughest question for every designer to answer. And
I
and
know it
and
is.
before I would say that I was definitely more maximalist in the way that my goal was to get as many textures, as many finishes in the room as harmoniously possible, if that makes sense. Even looking behind me, it's kind of monochromatic, but it's also a lot of different patterns and textures living together. And that was just my thing. It's just a way of communicating who the person that lives and dwells in this room is without saying a word. And over time, I'm becoming a little bit more minimal. I think there's a way to fully express what I want to say about this client or even myself using less, more quality pieces. But I live in a transitional space. I mean, I love a little bit of contemporary, but I love what things that have been here for a while, things that predate us. I love the way that adds value to a space and creates a narrative that says that this person is probably a bit more well-rounded than, the first appearance.
You know, First of all, that's a really great response. And you said it was difficult, but it came to you so naturally. However, however, it doesn't come so naturally to younger designers, to aspiring designers. So how, like someone once asked me from the vlogging world, how do you find your voice? So,
Sure.
and I really had to think about that. So along
Tough
that
one.
lines, or along those lines, how do you advise a young designer? How do they define their aesthetic? I mean, I think it's
Listen,
a little tough.
yeah, it is tough. It is tough. And it's trial and error. And it's okay to evolve. That's the first thing I want to say. And I also want to say that, I wasn't this confident at all when I first graduated or when I was a student. I was so afraid. I was definitely afraid that my aesthetic would look just like the people that I was admiring. Books like Kelly Wearstler's Modern Glamour and Vincent Wolf's How to See, those books are what made me go to design school to begin with. And I was afraid, oh my God, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be mimicking the people that I love so much. And that actually wasn't the case. Their influences are there, but it's a perfect marriage between my life experience, where I'm from in Louisiana, the places I love in Europe, how I personally define luxury. And, I built on the foundation from those people, but I just don't think that it's a bad thing to experiment and try different things. And evolve into who you are. I was a real stickler about the images that I put out in the beginning. I didn't want to put out anything that didn't rival the people that I love. If I can flip a page of this designer's book and my work is next, can it stand up next to it? That's how I felt. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression, but luckily, we're creatives and we have creative license. We can be eccentric and we can change and we can evolve.
So you've got a few collaborations out there, impressive ones too. I'm actually really familiar or somewhat familiar with your rugs. They're stunning. But
Thank
you also
you.
have paintings. Well, you're welcome. Thank you. I would love for you to talk to us a little bit about these collaborations and how they came about.
You know what? You know what I think is the most important thing about collaborations and evolving into the space that I am right now? It's honestly vulnerability. Actually sharing with people what I wanted to do and how I saw myself and how I could add value, but in a way that, I wanted to be a student, that I wanted to grow, and I recognized that I couldn't do it by myself. And collaborations are the name of the game right now. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I just want to make some space for me. So the collaboration with Left Bank was one that I didn't see coming. Even the rug collections, I didn't see those coming. When I was a design student, I thought my goal was, like, my ultimate dream was to have fabrics and work in textiles, obviously, because that's what I love. But I didn't think that the textiles would start out with rugs. And that was regional. I was shopping a lot and ordering a lot of things from Verde Home here in Atlanta proud and strong. And that was my first rug collection, cut to a collection with Fazy. And now I have a bespoke collection that you're speaking of, which I'm excited about. And in the spring, I'll be launching a fourth rug collection with Z Gallery. There's so many things in the pipeline that I'm so grateful, but it's really about my point of view coming across in every category of what I do, and it being clearly MSB, clearly Michel. Painting is something I hadn't done since I was a kid. And when Left Bank approached me, I was like, right. I'm like, wait, me? You want me to do that? And so in that space, my thought process was, how can I add value? I wanted to look at what they already had in their wheelhouse and what I felt was missing from when I'm doing resourcing and specifying. And, that equation led me to what I decided to paint and what the subject matter was. I love portraiture, and most of the portraiture that I resource, they don't look like me. So I got some beautiful brown people all over Z Gallery, and now Neiman Marcus, and it's honestly incredible to see work that I've done in other designer spaces. I mean, this is what we set out to do, to give the community that's given us back so much, interior design, give them something back to make a contribution back to it.
So are these businesses seeking you out? Are you approaching them for a collaboration? Can you kind of demystify that a little bit? With the understanding that you're also in a place within your career that you're well known. So maybe, I don't want to say it's easier, but it's not as difficult as someone maybe just starting out to collaborate with Neiman Marcus, let's say. But
it's not.
How are these collaborations happening?
That's a great question, because I'll be honest, I still deal and struggle with that. Most of the collaborations I've had thus far are those that reach out to me, which I'm incredibly grateful for. But no one's successful by accident, Vincent, and you know that. Like, this was a very calculated and intentional move into this space. I wanted to be seen as someone who could add value. I wanted to be seen as someone who respected our community and was open to collaborating and had a voice that was a little bit different than many of them out there. That was incredibly intentional, and that was reflected in my work. That was reflected in how I showed up in spaces, in interviews, in editorials, and actually making it a point to meet editors and be personable so they would know my name, and work with clients that, oh my God, not just clients, but show houses were huge for me, because in the beginning, you want to show people what you can do, right? And that was a way to say, hey, whatever's missing from my portfolio, let me join this show house and express that. And those images live forever. But it was a pretty calculated plan. Nothing works according to plan ever, and nothing works in the timeline that you think. But
Of course.
everything has to be done with everything has to be done with intention. It's not a perfect formula, but I really do believe that persistence and consistency is key.
Well, I also think, and I really want to talk about this. I I believe that Michelle, that your business is a brand. You're a brand, and I want to talk about what defines a brand, and at what point can you consider yourself a brand. And I'm asking specifically because when I was in the studio, in the classroom, all my sweet, fresh, young, aspiring designers, I want to be a brand. I want to be or I want to be a brand. And I'm like, yes, we will give you everything we possibly can at the Art Institutes to
Yeah,
help make that happen, give you all the tools we possibly can.
yeah,
But, it doesn't happen just like that. And it's not just going horizontal, but also in a vertical business
right,
model. So, I
right.
mean, you've got your paintings, you've got your rugs, you've got your design services. So, talk a little bit about being a brand. How does it happen? How do
I
you get
feel
there?
like that. And listen, even hearing you saying it, honestly, I feel like that crown is a little bit heavy for me because every day I'm figuring it out, and that's the honest to God truth. Every day I'm
Yeah,
figuring it out, and the things you see are things that I worked on last year or 2 years ago. These partnerships, and I'm always on to the next thing, but I feel like the biggest part of being or building a brand is your point of view, 100%. And I don't know when you get to decide that you are a brand.
right.
but but I do believe that vertical reaching up is important. But I do like the horizontal reaching across the table to your peer group. We can't always get inside that door reaching up, but I think that we're stronger in numbers, and I think that a lot of times those alliances are right next to you in your classroom. You know, I think that,
Yeah,
understanding and partnering based on your weaknesses. Today, I hire for my weaknesses. I'm not the best at organization. So I hire someone who can make me stronger in that space.
I'm
I
not either.
didn't really. I didn't really understand the power of social media in the beginning. And you just referenced my images. That was work. I have someone in my ear saying, hey, listen, this is the direction you need to take. Oh no, stories are way more important than the static post. And I'm like, wait, what? So it's reaching across, it's reaching up, but also being open. I think that being receptive and studying those heroes. I learned. I was like, this is super funny, but I thought in class, I swear to you, in the Art Institute, I thought, how the hell
Okay.
do I get from where I am to where Kelly Wersler is? How does that happen? What did she do? And how did she move and so forth? And I mean, our stories are going to be different, but I want to know what my heroes did. I want to know what the people that inspire me, what inspired them. Her hero was David Hicks, and I can see his influence in her work. And just traveling back and having that depth of knowledge creates a different kind of confidence and makes you understand who you are and makes your voice a little bit more clear. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but
Well, I love, no, no, listen, I love everything you're saying. And I really hope that our students are watching this and will be watching this, because that last bit of information it's so key. You cannot just take a class, you know, listen, learn, absorb the information, the knowledge, and then just walk away. You need to reach for more. And that's what you were doing when you were looking at Kelly Wersler and what were her influences. I mean, that's you reaching above and beyond um, your instruction and really making the beginnings of your career. With time and patience, you are where you are
totally,
now, but
totally.
it starts back then. It starts way
And
earlier than
listen,
that.
that is what I mean when I say, like, constantly being open. That's what I mean when I say that, being intentional. Like when I am working, I never do one thing at a time, which is crazy. I'm always multitasking, but I'm listening to
That's okay.
podcasts. I'm listening to things like How I Did It, and I am developing a home fragrance collection. And one of the guests that they had on this podcast was Joe Malone, who we all know, right? And listening to her story and the trial and error and understanding that this person is just like me. She was once in this spot. And so it's possible, it's all possible. And I don't know. I just always want to be better. And there's really no ego in building a brand. You can't have it. I don't even know how it's possible to have it
Absolutely not.
in this profession. There's no ego in that. I mean, you have to be receptive. You have to be open to
Yeah,
criticism, open to change, and evolve.
absolutely.
And the toughest thing, though, is to just at the end of that evolution and even these partnerships that your signature is still in there somewhere. You recognize it
Yeah.
as you, that when someone comes across what you're presenting, is like, that room looks like Michelle. And I'm like, yes, there's a brand coming,
Exactly. Exactly. So, Michelle, I've got to say, I mean, you've been featured in so many magazines, so many publications, but you're also really comfortable in front of the camera. And I was glued to a TV show on Bravo that you were on recently. I went on thinking, oh my God, this show's going to be a train wreck. It was actually pretty good, and you were fabulous. So let's chat up TV a little bit. What's that like? Do you love it?
Man,
Do you hate it? Or is there
you want me
more
to tell the
coming?
truth, don't you? You're a little bit closer to your pinnacle. I'd say wait on it. Buying It Blind was a great opportunity to get on a network that does represent fashion, that is a little sexier, a little edgier, and celebrates more luxury. Was a good idea for me. I didn't think that I would do well on a competition show because somebody's got to go home first. But Buying It Blind was a great experience, and I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And Buying It Blind put me in front of a larger audience, and there's something brewing right now, Vincent, that is so damn good. I cannot wait to tell
Oh,
you
can
about
you
it.
tell us?
I just saw the final
Oh,
cut the other day, and it's
wow.
special. And being a part of an ensemble cast and with Buying It Blind and not having to be responsible for carrying the whole show was a great experience in understanding how my morale, how my disposition, and how I showed up every day affected the entire crew and translated to the audience. TV is an amazing medium to building that brand.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first of all, you just piqued my interest with with what's coming up. So,
No, like I'm serious, man.
I
I'm
want to.
dancing. I'm dancing inside.
I'm going to be DMing. Like, I promise I won't tell anyone. But what's really funny, Michelle? And you might know this. I don't know, but I can kick myself now. I could have had my home designed by you. So my husband and I were approached by the producers of Buying It Blind to be on the show. We turned it down. I did not want to be on a show in that capacity. But the flip side is, if we had said yes, you would have designed our house for us.
Here's the
Isn't that
thing.
weird?
A first season show is risky. So I'm not even mad at you for saying no because it's a risk, right? You never know how this show is going to turn out. But the fact is, we know each other. We're friends. I got you. Don't worry. We can do it. No cameras.
There you go. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, speaking of doing it, I want to wrap our show today by really going back to Smith Boyd Interiors, because something that I think is just so impressive. You started your firm as solo, a man of one, you, And that's not the case anymore. It's really grown. And I, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that whole process and just the evolution of Smith Boyd Interiors, and really what is a boutique firm?
Right. I was a one-man show for a long time. You're right. And to my detriment, but also to my credit, I feel like it really allowed me to help me focus on what those weaknesses and opportunities were and understanding the value of sharing the load. I don't think anybody can do everything well all the time. And there is no brand without a team behind it. I mean, every interior is a collaboration between, you know, 20 subcontractors, artisans, and talented people making this one designer look like a rock star. And the same thing happens with a firm. I'll be honest with you, when I think back to my Art Institute experience, I think the most important thing I ever did was professional practice. And I swear I wish we had more of that class. Pro practice is the one thing that and like architectural standards, I still remember 18 inches from the sofa to the coffee table and 36 inches for this court. Like I know those numbers, like the, in the back of my head. But professional practice probably was the most important thing that I ever took. I think that in our history and just those numbers are the things that influenced me the most. But in building a business and understanding that, I credit my history with the Art Institute. That's also trial and error. People work with people that they like.
Always.
And building my team, I am really careful about. Lately, I have been admittedly doing things on a 30-day or 90-day trial just to see if it's a good fit for the person that I'm bringing in and also for me. But more importantly, how this new team member interacts and respects our clients and what we do and our craft. I need people that are as passionate about interior design as I am. And I think working with new people that are passionate or even younger kind of reignites in me why I started. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, I absorb all of that and I feed off of that energy. So I think that a well-oiled machine is important. I'm nothing without my project manager. I'll be honest with you. And right now, what I need, though, because I'm so incredibly divided, with the brand work, with the collaborations, with influencer type,
We're so
positions.
sorry for you.
No, really, like just being that. Being that divided means that I need someone else that can design, can actually design. Because as much as you want to become a brand, and as much as I wanted to be a brand and work so hard to get here, it's taken me away from the thing that actually created all of this, from actual design work. So now I need help with just focusing on the design work. And that's the balance. That's the trial. We balance rooms for a living, but balancing that life of trying to evolve into something bigger and better is also a task. There's very little sleep in my life.
Well, that's just the whole job in itself, just achieving that balance. And that's a lifetime challenge, I think, too.
Yeah. I think for everybody.
Well, for everybody. Oh, absolutely. For me, it definitely is. And I do want to say that you are a rock star, and you're too modest to ever admit that. So don't change. Okay. And we are very. We use a hashtag at the Art Institute, AI Proud, and we are very AI proud of you.
Thank you.
I really cannot thank you enough for being on AI Live today and being on the show and just sharing so much transparency and just really great words of wisdom. So thank you so much, Michel.
I was AI proud to be here, honestly, and I wish we could talk more. And I give away more because honestly, I wish that I heard some of the things that I get to tell people now and students now. And if I can help anybody make fewer mistakes on the way than I did, then I've done my job.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you to this because if that secret you're sitting on is as big as you say it is, you're gonna be
I'll be
back
back.
on the show talking about it. Okay?
I'll be back in less than 6 months.
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us on AI Live, Michelle.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me, really.